All right, welcome to Sagittarius Yoga. This is part of an exploration of the ways in which the zodiac connects with our physical bodies. And we all have all the different body parts, which means we all have the different zodiac signs within us and their energies and what they represent. And Sagittarius rules the hips and thighs. So we all have a good set of hips, hopefully. Some of them have had different life experiences, right? Sometimes the left one has had different things than the right one. So we may have some feelings about our hips and our thighs, but they give us our sense of direction, which is really sort of that energetic like quality of the Sagittarius. The Sagittarius is the centaur. So if you think of half man, half or woman, half human, half horse. There's this very big emphasis on the horse-like thick thighs and strong legs. And also action, it's a fire sign, so we tend to take action. Sagittarius is also sort of this truth seeker in us, like trying to find really the ultimate big level truth. And there's sometimes a little bit of this like higher upper versus lower body, higher self versus lower self. So at the end, I'll do a meditation for with your higher self as well. So let's start in a comfortable seat, whatever that means for you. I'm going to scoop back and switch the view here. And some of you may feel comfortable in a cross-legged position. If you'd like to try being on the knees in a kneeling position, this will just bring a little bit more emphasis to the thighs. And one of the ways that I like to make this a little bit more possible for me, and I realize not everybody's knees can manage this with ease, but if you give a little space, if you have a block or something you can sit on underneath your sits bones, for me at least, it gives a lot more room in the knees and it's more easeful here. So you can try that if you just change your mind, sit however is comfortable for you. And take a breath in through the nose, keep the mouth closed, and breathe out slowly and sweetly. With your hands on your thighs, you might start feeling and connecting with that area of the body. There's a lot of muscle and strength in our legs, especially the thighs. So feel yourself, even here, seated, strong. Let your breath flow easily, in and out through the nose as best you can. And as we continue to move and practice together, there might be moments where you feel yourself efforting, right? Using your muscles, stressing the muscles, stress in a positive way, right? Stress in order to grow, to strengthen further, to maintain. And sometimes when we effort more than what is really possible for us, we open the mouth to breathe. It's a habit, but it's a really good indicator actually that you're doing too much, you're efforting too hard, or you're going too fast. So as part of the inquiry for today, perhaps pay attention to those moments where you feel your mouth wants to open and use that as an invitation to slow down or to back off. This is not to scare you. We're not going to go high speed or anything like that. It's just an inquiry that you might pay attention to. When you're ready, feel free to open the eyes and stretch the arms out to the side, up overhead. Interlace your fingers and press the palms out away from you. Reach up through the arms, through the shoulders, and then take the palms towards you, round into your upper back and shoulders. Send the backs of the hands away from you. So it's kind of like a cat-cow variation, this being the cat. And then press up either to more upright or maybe arch backwards if there's room there. And then round into yourself. Send the backs of your hands forward, curl chin to chest. Try a couple more times, reaching up and then rounding. Nice. And then find an ending for that. Maybe shrug your shoulders, make circles. And come forward onto hands and knees. If you have some blocks nearby, I would keep them handy. And from hands and knees, start to make circles with your hips. So feel the ways in which they can move. Maybe you feel some feelings, especially if you were out in the yard. Change directions. Nice. And then steady yourself in tabletop and reach your right foot back behind you. It feels okay for your toes. Curl the toes under and press back. So you're kind of stretching the backs of the toes, the sole of your foot. Just be mindful if you've had a really big dog step on your foot recently or done anything else to your foot. Nice. From here, press into the hands more to lift the leg and then bend the knee so that your foot is pretending to stand on the sky. You can either stay here or take your opposite hand, the left hand, back and see if it magically connects with the foot. Now there's some balance involved here. And if the hand doesn't reach, that's okay. Bit of a quad stretch if you do have the hand on your foot. And then release down. Same thing to the other side. So stretch your left foot back, maybe curl the toes under so you can stretch out the backs of the toes, the sole of the foot. And then lift the leg, bend the knee. This is called tiger pose. You can pause here or see if you can balance and reach. You can pretend reach or perhaps grab the foot. Notice your breath here as best you can. Breathe in and out through the nose. Nice. And then release down, shake out your hips again. And stretch your right leg back behind you. This time, bring the knee out to the side. So you're more in a half frog shape and make a big circle, tracing sort of the outer limits of rotation that are available for you on this side. So even though it looks like you're drawing the circle with your knee, this is really about the thigh bone waving around inside your hip socket. Go a few times in the other direction. Nice. And then stretch the leg back behind you and take it over to the left. for a side body stretch. And look past the left shoulder. You might feel this down the right side. And then replace your knee back in tabletop. Same thing other side. Start with the left leg lifted, knee out like a half frog, and then make circles here. This side might be a little more tired from already holding you up while you were doing the other side. So notice if that's true for you. Go a few times in both directions. And then stretch the leg back behind you, bring it over to the right, and look past the right shoulder for that big, long side body stretch. And then come back to tabletop. From here, my body wants a little child's pose because my hips are tired. So sinking the hips back towards the heels, resting the forehead. Notice your breath. Perhaps let it move into the hips. Can you feel the breath in your pelvis and hip area? And then come up to tabletop. Step your right foot forward for a runner's lunge. So you're welcome to leave the knee down, or runner's lunge, lift the knee. This helps us to use those thighs, the big, strong muscle of the centaur, right? And then perhaps lift the hips a little bit as if to straighten your right leg. Now this is where those blocks come in handy. You can also use a piece of furniture, right? Have your hands up a little higher and bend and straighten your right leg. It doesn't have to get all the way straight. You might feel some feelings on the back of the leg as you get towards the straight leg pyramid shape, but really we're working, again, this thigh inside of the hip. The next time the leg is straight, pause, or straight-ish, pause. And if there's room, you can fold any amount towards the top of your thigh. You don't have to. You can absolutely be more upright. For example, I like having this couch here. You can stay more halfway, and the torso is parallel to the ground. Otherwise, if there's desire, you can lean forward slightly. This is one of the ways in which yoga at home is actually sometimes better because you have more possible props in your space. All right, from here, you're gonna bend your knee and we're gonna switch legs. You can come down to tabletop or you can step back with your right foot to downward dog and stretch out the back body. Walk your dog, bend one knee, then the other. Or spend a moment in child's pose, whatever feels good between sides. And then step your left foot forward, runner's lunge, other side. Again, if this side has to look different because this side has had different life experience, honor that. Feel free to stay in the lunge for a moment and then start to bend and straighten your left leg. Again, use whatever feels supportive. You want this to be just challenging enough. And sometimes the challenge is more like the stretchy feeling, and other times the challenge might be related to effort or muscular effort. Nice. The next time your leg is straight-ish in the pyramid, stretch, perhaps pause, perhaps Fold. Notice what's different about this side. Nice. And then bend your knee and step back, tabletop, or maybe downward dog. Again, it doesn't have to be the same thing you did before. Maybe you pause in neutral downward dog and lift the hips, feel your heels press down, and look back at your thighs without judgment. And notice how much more muscle surrounds your thigh bones than your shin. Part of it is that they have to do more work than your lower legs, and part of it is that your shin bones are actually much stronger than your thigh bones are. So they require more muscle surrounding to help with all of its different functions. All right, step forward with your right foot again and slowly rise on up to warrior one. Lunge. Feel free to shorten or lengthen your stance. And then if you like, bring your arms up overhead. I'm going to do focus mudra, which is to take the hands together, interlace all the fingers except for the pointer and the thumb, and reach those to the sky. If you'd rather aim at something else, you can absolutely reach them forward. It feels quite different energetically. I like the reaching upward to plug in again to that idea of the higher self, some higher purpose, some higher vision. Notice the thighs working now to hold you up. And as best you can, breathe in and out through the nose. If you start feeling a little overheated or like you want to open the mouth to breathe, bring the hands closer to the body, take them down. Nice. Beautiful. Now from here, you're going to lean forward. If you have the focus, you can keep it or take the hands apart, but lean forward so you're in a bit of an angle and spring off of your back foot. Bring the feet together so that you land in a chair pose. If it feels wonky, straighten yourself out in mountain for a moment and then sit back into your imaginary chair. Again, if it's too hot, bring your hands down closer to your body, closer to the hips. Notice the thighs. You decide how far apart your feet are. And then shift the weight over to your left foot. Take a big step back with your right. And now you're in warrior one on the other side. Bring the head up over the belly and decide what mudra or arm position you'd like to use on this side. Is it focus mudra? Is it something else? Nice. And then lean forward. Spring off your back foot again, chair pose. Feel free to take the hands apart. Notice that your hips are pointing your thighs straight forward. There's nowhere else you can go, right? And then rise up to stand. If it feels good, baby back bend over the back. And then bring your hands back up to stand, tall mountain, and at the heart. All right, take your hands straight forward, and with your right hand, you're gonna pull back like you're an archer, right? The centaur is known also to be a master archer. So you're gonna pull back on your bow, but step back with your right foot into warrior two. So this is the archer variation of warrior two. Your left knee is bent, your right leg is more or less straight, and your belly is turned a little bit to the side. And before you let go of the bow, notice which way it's pointing. What do you want to aim it at? What direction are you going in? And maybe you imagine it sort of letting go, finding its way, and then open the arms out to the side. Nice. Straighten your left leg, arms reach up overhead. We're going to turn to face the other foot. Warrior two, other side. Come on down, pull back on your bow. And then before you let it go, imagine it landing right at its target, whatever you've targeted. Open the arms out to the side. Again, if it's starting to get a little warm, bring the hands close to the body. And then straighten your right leg, bring yourself back to the middle, facing the long edge of your mat. Turn the feet in so that the feet are parallel-ish. Maybe bring hands behind you, either to the hips or interlace the fingers. If you prefer to use a strap, grab that. Lift your chest, connect to something bigger than you, above you, and then hinge forward, either halfway or all the way for standing angle forward fold. Nice. To come up, either use the momentum of your knuckles reaching behind you to slowly come up, or bring the hands to the thighs and then walk the feet together. Shake it out. And then step wide twist from side to side. Let your arms wrap around you. And notice how your hips can do quite a lot of different things here. You can they kind of stop you from turning, right? So they're sort of like a little bit of a break. You might feel that as you sway. And then turn this into a hip circle, around and around. So this is really what I recommend when your upper body and lower body aren't feeling like they're talking to each other, like you're half woman on top and half horse on the bottom. Loosen the connection. And then change positions. Anybody a horse rider here, or maybe done it once when you were on vacation somewhere? Yeah. Lots of strength in those horse hips. All right, come on up to stand, shake out the shoulders a bit. Beautiful. And then stand tall, shift the weight over to your right foot and bring your left heel behind you. So we're heading towards dancer pose. Now, for some people, grabbing the foot is relatively quick and simple. If you don't want to grab your foot, or if it's just not possible for any reason, this is where your couch or a chair or something comes in handy. The real goal here is to open up the space on the front. And so even resting the foot there will do that. If you have the foot in the hand, awesome. Then it's even more of a challenge to balance. Pause here to feel the stretch down the quad for a few moments. And then to explore dancer pose, you'll kick the foot into the hand slightly. And with your other hand, reach up and forward a bit. So you're not really reaching down to the floor, but reaching out, up, and away. So again, it's almost like your knee is pointing down towards the floor behind you, and your other arm is reaching out and up. Again, that upward and downward, higher and lower. What are you reaching for? Grab it, make it something good. Beautiful. When you're ready, lower yourself down, shake out both legs. That standing leg and hip and thigh had to do a lot of work to hold you up. All right, so let's switch sides. Find your bearings on both feet, switch the weight over to your left foot. And then see if it's possible to grab the foot on this side. If it doesn't quite work out the way you plan, use something nearby. You can also loop a strap around your foot to make your arm longer. And then connect into the floor or the ground with your standing leg, feeling the stretch on the thigh. And then perhaps explore dancer. Take your opposite arm towards the sky, and as you kick the foot lightly into the hand, reach out, up, and away with your opposite arm. Some of you may be tempted to go forward, and you're welcome to, but this is a different pose. We did it earlier this week, half standing bow. So dancer is a little bit more upward lifting energy. Even your foot behind you is kind of lifting up as your knee reaches down and back. If you can smile and breathe, you're doing it right. Notice if concentrating on your balance made your lips open, maybe connect them together and breathe in and out through the nose. All right, when you're ready, release down, shake out the legs. My body wants a little hip circle after that. All right. And then keep your stance wide and your toes pointed towards the long edge of your mat. You can change the distance between your feet in a moment. You can always change your mind. And then bend your right knee any amount. Now, for most people, the ankle will stop you first, but maybe something else will stop you. Now, to get lower, you might hinge, right? That's where the hip comes into play, that connection between the upper and lower body. So you can play with that, or you can play with how far can you go before either your heel pops up or you feel the need to hinge. And then try the other side. Might be a little different. Play with being more upright and play with the hinge. And notice how the hinging takes you a little bit lower, but also works the hip and all the muscles around it and the thigh much more than perhaps what you initially feel here and here. Now turn the angle of your feet out a little bit, and if you feel safe doing so, bend your knee. Notice if it's different. Do you have a different range of motion? This always makes me feel like a dancer, like a ballet dancer. And then notice what happens when you hinge. Are you feeling some stretchy feelings or other feelings in different places? I feel this more in the inner leg. Right, so just playing with side lunge variations. Now, pick whatever toe angle you prefer and whatever distance you prefer with the feet. And it's gonna get a little warm here. If you want the ultimate challenge, you're gonna take your arms out of the equation by crossing them in front of your chest. And then bend your right knee any amount. You can let the heel pop up off the ground and then push down to lift yourself back up. Switch and try the other side and then push really strong. Nice. Now, your other leg, your straight leg, can actually help you a bit. So instead of feeling like just the bent knee is pushing and springing, see if you can sort of scissor the straight leg towards your other foot. So it's almost like as this one's pushing, this one's pulling to help me up. Same thing on the other side. Bend the left knee, push off of this one, but then pull with the inner leg. Hopefully you feel some feelings there. Notice the challenge here, you're in charge. And for some of you, if you feel safe doing so, you can try to go a little bit deeper. Now the problem tends to be coming back up, right? So sometimes if you decide, whoop, I went too far, use your hands to help you back up. If you want to try to come back up without the hands, this is where you want to use both legs. Push from the bent leg, pull from the straight one, and come up. Now you don't have to go all the way down to feel the challenge or feel those feelings. Stay with whatever feels challenging enough for you. And notice that it's much easier when you hinge forward, right? At least to get down. But trying to keep the chest up as you lift is a lot more challenging. If you're still with me, maybe try one more. Woo! And then turn towards the front of your mat. Lower your back knee down so you're in a low lunge, and then perhaps lift up slightly so your hands might rest on blocks or on the thigh. And hopefully this gives this front leg, excuse me, the front of the back leg a break and a stretch. Nice. And then straighten the front leg so your hips shift back, half split. You're welcome to hinge forward a bit. And then come forward again into the lunge. Couple of options here. We're going to head into pigeon. If you feel safe doing so, you're going to walk your foot out and your knee close to your same side hand, and then stretch the back leg back behind you for the active pigeon pose. The idea here is to feel some feelings on the outer hip of the front leg. If you decide that's not for you, you can sit down so your bum is resting on the ground and bend both legs. And then you're in sort of the relaxed pigeon, and you can decide if you want to fold at any angle and feel into that stretch in the outer hip. Now, if you have blocks or your forearms are comfortable coming down to the floor, you can explore that as well. A third option, which is really nice and much more relaxing, it's also cooler, closer to the ground, is the reclined pigeon. Make a figure 4 with your legs and reach for the back of the opposite thigh. Spend a few moments here. And notice your breath. Let it be as easy and natural as possible. And then we're going to switch sides. If you're on your back and you want to stay down, there's no need to get back up. But many of you might actually enjoy a downward dog between sides. So if that's you, come on up. Actually, I made a mistake. We did do some lunging and half split before. So if you want to stay on your back and you're happy there, you don't have to get up. But if you're upright, step your opposite foot forward, lower the back knee down, and then perhaps take your hands to blocks or to thigh for the low lunge on this. And then perhaps with the help of the blocks, shift your hips back, straighten the front leg, half split. And if you like, fold towards the leg. And then shift forward again. This is where we set up for pigeon with the other leg. So you can try the same kind of pigeon first and see if that feels like the right choice. And remember, it's okay if this side looks different. Maybe you take the relaxed pigeon, maybe you take the reclined pigeon. See what your body will give you some feedback. It'll be like, yeah, no, maybe, let's see, move around, wiggle around, find a spot. And then if, you don't have to, but if you want to lean forward or rest your forehead on the block or hands, take a few moments here. And then slowly make your way out, perhaps to downward dog one last time. And then take your other foot forward. Return to your low lunge. I know it feels like Groundhog Day. Shift your hips back, half split. Now you're welcome to stay right here. Or you can play with kicking your heel further out in front. My favorite way to do this, and I can't do this right now because I'm working with a carpet, but if you have wood floor underneath you, fold your mat back. And if you have a blanket or a towel or something that will slide on your wood floor, you can take it just in front of your mat, which is less sticky. And then as you start in your half split, you can kind of kick your foot forward until you find a new spot somewhere maybe towards full split. Now you don't have to do it. It's a different set of feelings. I highly recommend you blocks under the hands. And you might even get to a point where one of those blocks fits perfectly under the bone. And then it's like you're riding a horse. Dun, 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 dun. It feels like much less effort with the support of the block. Now, it may not be comfortable or it may not be possible today, and that's okay. Stick with what's challenging enough for you. Make sure you can still breathe and smile. And then to come out of this, use your belly muscles and drag your heel back towards the other leg. Carefully bring the legs back together. And then after being split apart, they usually like a little reuniting moment, either in child's pose or even something active like lion's pose, where you lift the knees just an inch or so, or downward dog, somewhere where both sides, left and right, upper and lower body, are working together. And then step your other foot forward, lower the back knee for the other side. So if the blanket helped, or if you have carpet, sometimes that'll be enough to be slippery enough. Shift your hips back, half split. Remember, there's no need to go beyond this at all. But if you want, you might see if the heel, notice what that feels like. And if you feel safe, maybe kick a little more. Usually the other side is a whole different experience. And again, if you have a block at home and it magically fits under your sits bone, you can play with that. It's kind of somewhere between the sits bone and under the thigh bone, where at least for me, it feels most comfortable. And then I feel safer with my hands off of the floor or the blocks. You had no idea you were going to wake up today and end your day with the splits. So thank you for playing. When you feel complete with this side, use your belly muscles and your arms to help drag your heel back. Woo, reunite the legs. You can move the blocks to the side. Replace your mat. And take a moment to recollect yourself. And press your way up to sit. Extend your legs long. Humpty Dumpty back together again. All right. Roll down onto your back. And either take the knees, bring the hands to the backs of the thighs for dead bug, or reach for the feet, happy baby. If there's something else calling to you, do that. And then let your feet come underneath your knees, flat on the floor, knees bent, arms alongside the body for bridge pose. Use your legs, push the feet into the floor and lift up. Notice the heat in the thighs, the buttocks, all of your Sagittarian centaur muscles. And then lower yourself down and take whatever counter stretch feels good for you. We'll do one more round of bridge with the option to play with the variation. So when you're ready, press the feet down, lift the hips up. If you like, shift your weight to your left foot and kick your right knee towards your chest. You can stay here or reach the toes towards the sky and reach up for something higher. Notice the heat in the leg that's working on the ground, and then try the other side. So switch, stay playful with it. You get to decide your level of enthusiasm. Reach, toes to the sky, and then spend a moment with both feet on the ground, neutral bridge pose, and then lower yourself down and take a moment to counter stretch. Let your feet return to the floor, but take them wide like your yoga mat, arms out across the mat. And then let the knees fall to the right in a reclined twist variation. I personally love this variation because I get this big stretch down the left side body, especially down through the quad. You can always change the distance between your feet if this feels at all uncomfortable or strange in your low back. And then bring the knees up and over to the left for the reclined twist, other side. And then bring yourself back to center. Perhaps squeeze the knees in one more time or take any final movements that you wish. And then rest your legs out along the ground. If you like the support of a blanket or a bolster under the thighs, bring that into your resting shape. And take up plenty of space on the ground. And give yourself permission to rest here. Notice yourself here on the ground, resting. And there's no place you need to go or move if you're comfortable where you are. If you would prefer to end with our meditation in a seated position, take your time. Stretch a bit, roll around, and eventually find your way to a comfortable seat. Feel free to rest your back against something that feels supportive. And wherever you are, whatever shape you're in, imagine that you're stepping outside of yourself for a moment and observing yourself. You might be in the room up in the corner somewhere, looking at yourself. And notice how you see yourself in this moment. Now, picture a different version of yourself. Yourself when you're making choices that you feel really good about. Perhaps a sort of higher version of yourself. Maybe this is an imagined version of yourself. Maybe this is a memory of yourself in a moment where you felt very much like you were being and acting and engaging in a way that felt like you were moving from a very deep sense of wisdom. Notice yourself in that moment or in that way. How do you move? How do you be? How do you picture your higher self? Are you even wearing different clothing, perhaps? Now try to merge those two parts of you, those two personalities, those two selves. One you see now and the highest version of yourself. It's okay if it feels awkward, maybe it doesn't. And welcome whatever thoughts and feelings you're aware of. And wherever you are, bring yourself to this moment, this room, this place, this time. You might notice sounds. Perhaps the wind is doing crazy tricks where you are as well. And open your eyes, look around. And bring your hands together at your heart. Let your chin drop to bow. There's so much of your higher wisdom in your heart. Some of that brought you to your mat today to practice. Thank yourself. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.